Before he became one of metal's strangest legends, Brent Hinds was just a restless kid from Birmingham, Alabama. He didn't fit in. He didn't care for rules. Music became his only language, raw, loud, and free. While most kids followed trends, Brent chased sounds that made no sense but felt alive. He fell in love with the guitar, not for fame, but for chaos. He'd play until his fingers bled, mixing country twang with brutal riffs. Nobody could understand him, but that was the point. Brent wasn't trying to be understood. He wanted to shock people, to make them feel. In his teens, he drifted between bands and trouble. He'd fight, drink, and vanish for weeks. But when he met future Mastodon bandmates, something clicked. They saw his madness as a gift. Brent brought a spark no one else had, the unpredictable edge that would define Mastodon's sound. But even from the start, it was clear. Brent wasn't made for a normal career. He didn't follow patterns. He broke them. And that raw, unfiltered spirit was both his superpower and his curse. When Mastodon formed in 2000, nobody expected they'd change metal forever. The lineup, Hinds, Troy Sanders, Bill Kelleher, and Bran Daylor, felt more like a gang than a band. 4 outsiders, united by chaos and riffs. Their early shows were brutal, not just in sound, but in energy. Brent's playing was wild, unpredictable, almost dangerous. On stage he'd thrash around, sometimes bleeding, sometimes laughing manically. Fans couldn't look away. It was pure madness. The band's first album, Remission, hit like a storm. Critics didn't know what to make of it. Was it sludge, prog, metalcore? Brent didn't care what they called it. For him, labels were cages. He only wanted freedom. But behind the music was a darker energy. Brent was already known for erratic behavior. He'd disappear before shows, fight with promoters, and insult journalists. He wasn't trying to be rude. He just didn't care. His truth came out raw, unfiltered, and it scared people. Yet that chaos gave Mastodon its fire. The more unhinged Brent became, the more inspired the band sounded, but everyone around him knew this couldn't last forever. Brent's guitar style was like nothing else in metal. He mixed southern blues, jazz runs, and thrash aggression into something completely alien. On stage, it looked like he was wrestling his guitar instead of playing it. Fans loved it. The press called him a genius. But off stage, things were spiraling. Brent's drinking was out of control. He'd show up late, sometimes not at all. When he did play, he'd swing between brilliance and disaster. One night, he smashed his guitar mid-set and walked off, leaving the band stunned. Another time, he got into a fistfight backstage, with himself in the mirror. Nobody knew if he was serious or just lost in his own head. People began calling him metal's weirdest guitarist. Brent didn't argue. He laughed it off, saying, "Weird keeps me alive." But deep down he was struggling. Fame had found him, but peace hadn't. Mastodon's success grew. Leviathan and Blood Mountain turned them into metal heroes. But the more success they found, the more Brent seemed to drift into darkness. The outlaw image was fun, until it started to hurt. As Mastodon's fame exploded, Brent's world started cracking. The touring life fed his worst habits: alcohol, chaos, and self-destruction. He'd vanish after shows, ending up in bars until sunrise. Bandmates tried to help, but Brent pushed them away. He didn't want sympathy. He wanted noise, loud enough to drown his own thoughts. Interviews became disasters. He'd say shocking things just to see the reaction. Some fans loved his honesty. Others saw a man falling apart. The label wanted him to clean up and be more professional. Brent laughed. "Professional? I play guitar for a living. That's already insane." Yet deep inside, the constant chaos was killing him. He once admitted, "I've been through hell just to play music." And it showed. His playing became more emotional, more tortured, like he was trying to scream through the strings. Brent was living 2 lives, a metal icon on stage, and a lost soul off it. Every night was a fight between genius and destruction, and sometimes destruction won. In 2007, Brent's wild life caught up with him, literally. After a Mastodon show in Las Vegas, he got into a street fight that ended with him unconscious and hospitalized. His face was smashed, teeth broken. The story became legend. The night Brent Hinds nearly lost it all. Nobody knows what really happened. Some say it was self-defense, others say Brent provoked it. He never explained much, only saying, "I got my ass kicked. I probably deserved it." The injury was severe. For a guitarist, his head and jaw are everything, but Brent refused to quit. He recovered, scarred, but still defiant. Fans noticed a darker tone in his playing afterward, deeper, more emotional. Pain had shaped his art once again. But that night also marked a turning point. Brent began to question everything. Fame, the band, even himself. He didn't know how long he could keep burning this hot without turning to ash. Inside Mastodon, things were no longer the same. Brent's unpredictable behavior started to wear everyone down. Arguments grew louder, shows got tense. The others loved him, but feared his volatility. He'd say shocking things in interviews, calling out bandmates or mocking fans. It was hard to tell if he was joking or serious. Sometimes he'd disappear mid-tour, leaving chaos behind. Still, when he picked up a guitar, all the anger melted into brilliance. That's what kept the band together, his raw, unfiltered genius. But behind closed doors, tension was boiling. Brent didn't like the fame, the expectations, or the pressure to stay Mastodon. He once said, "I didn't start this to be part of a brand, I just wanted to jam." His frustration grew as the band became bigger and more polished. It was clear. Brent was an artist trapped in a machine he helped build, and the machine was slowly crushing him. To the public, Brent looked like the funny guy, the clown of Mastodon. He'd give weird interviews, make bizarre jokes, and act like nothing mattered. But behind the laughter was pain. He used humor as armor. Whenever questions got serious, he'd dodge them with jokes. He once told a reporter, "If I didn't laugh, I'd lose my mind." And maybe he already was. Fans saw a man who lived without fear, but friends saw someone haunted by his own thoughts. His mind never stopped racing, from creative ideas to self-destruction. The weirdness wasn't an act. Brent really was that unpredictable. One day he'd write a beautiful melody. The next, he'd write something that sounded like chaos itself. But that duality made him who he was. Funny, frightening, and brilliant all at once. Behind every joke was a truth. Brent was scared of losing himself. And in some ways, he already had. As years passed, Brent's relationship with alcohol became darker. It wasn't just a party anymore. It was survival. He drank to forget, to numb, to disappear. His bandmates worried. Fans whispered about his condition. But Brent hated pity. He'd smile through interviews and say he was fine. Everyone knew he wasn't. During the recording of Crack the Sky, Brent poured his emotions into the music. That album's beauty and sadness reflected his inner war. It was about death, loss, and finding meaning in chaos. Everything Brent was living. He once said, "I drink because my brain won't shut up." Those words revealed everything. The same fire that made him a genius was also destroying him. Still, somehow he kept creating. Even at his lowest, his guitar never lied. It told the truth, all the pain, confusion, and fleeting moments of joy. But addiction is patient. It waits, it feeds, and it never lets go easily. Brent was running out of time to escape it. In the early 2010s, Brent tried something new, slowing down. He started spending more time away from tours, focusing on other projects. He formed smaller bands, jammed with friends, and even explored country and blues again. Fans were confused. the wild metal hero suddenly playing mellow songs. But Brent didn't care. He said, "Music isn't a genre, it's a feeling." He also began talking more openly about his struggles. The mask started to slip. Behind the madness was a man searching for peace. But peace was hard to find when your whole identity was built on chaos. He tried sobriety, meditation, even silence. But his mind always returned to noise. That was his curse and his gift. Yet something had changed. Brent was starting to understand himself, even if it hurt. The same fire that once destroyed him was now what kept him alive. Critics began calling Brent a strange genius. His playing influenced a generation of metal guitarists who admired his fearless approach. But Brent didn't like the praise. He called himself a glorified hillbilly with a guitar. He didn't want to be a hero. He wanted to be free. Even as Mastodon reached new levels of fame, Brent stayed weird. He refused to follow the industry's rules, skipping award shows, mocking fame, and dressing however he liked. In one interview he said, "I'm not weird. Everyone else is just boring." It summed up his philosophy perfectly. He saw the world differently. Notes, sounds, and even silence meant something deep to him. His art came from chaos, and that's what made it real. But genius often walks hand in hand with isolation, and Brent's world was getting lonelier by the day. By the mid-2010s, Brent was exhausted by fame. The tours, the interviews, the spotlight. He hated it all. He started speaking openly against the music industry, calling it fake and soulless. He said, "I didn't sign up for this circus, I just wanted to play guitar with my friends." His honesty shocked fans, but it was pure Brent. He didn't want to be trapped in a system that rewarded image over emotion. He wanted truth, even if it cost him everything. His attitude caused tension within the band again. Some thought he was ungrateful, others understood his pain. But for Brent, it wasn't about gratitude. It was about authenticity. He wasn't built for the fame machine. He was built for art, and fame was killing the art inside him. The war between those two sides, artist versus celebrity, would never end. Then came the quiet years. Brent retreated from the spotlight, spending time on his farm, working on personal music, and living a simpler life. Fans rarely saw him, but when they did, he seemed calmer, older, wiser, but still haunted. He still played, but not to impress anyone. He played for himself, sometimes alone, sometimes with close friends. In those moments, he rediscovered what music meant to him. Not fame, not chaos, just feeling. He said, "If I die tomorrow, at least I lived playing guitar." The world around him moved faster, but Brent slowed down. He no longer cared about being metal's weirdest guitarist. He just wanted to be Brent, the same kid from Alabama who fell in love with noise. But even in peace, the madness never truly left. It just learned how to whisper instead of scream. When Mastodon returned with Emperor of Sand, Brent came back stronger. His playing was emotional, layered, and beautifully strange. Fans felt it, the pain, the loss, the growth. The album's themes of mortality hit close to home for him. Every note sounded like a confession. Brent poured his soul into it, and the result was hauntingly powerful. He still joked, still acted wild at times, but there was wisdom in his eyes now. He'd seen too much, survived too much. He wasn't trying to shock anymore. He was just being real. The world finally began to understand Brent Hinds, not as a crazy man, but as a true artist. He'd walked through fire and somehow come out playing guitar even harder. Today, Brent Hinds stands as one of the most unique guitarists in metal history. He broke every rule and survived every fall. His playing changed what metal could sound like, mixing beauty, pain, and absurdity into one sound. You can't copy him, you can only be inspired by him. Many call him the weirdest, others call him the realist. Either way, he's unforgettable. His riffs tell stories that words can't. His chaos gave metal its soul back. He once said, "If I had to do it again, I'd make it even weirder." That sums up Brent Hinds perfectly. Fearless, unfiltered, and full of heart. His legacy isn't perfection. It's truth. And that's far rarer than talent. Even after all these years, Brent Hinds remains a mystery. A man who refuses to play by anyone's rules. His career has been filled with chaos, brilliance, and brutal honesty. He doesn't care if he's loved or hated. He just wants to make music that feels real, even if it burns bridges in the process. Fans still talk about the wild interviews, the stage meltdowns, and the beauty of his playing. But behind the madness lies a man who has given everything to his art. Brent never wanted to be famous. He wanted to be free. That's why his story hits so hard, because it's real. He's the last of a dying breed, an artist who lives and dies by emotion. For Brent, the noise never stops. The chaos never fades. But maybe that's the point. Maybe the madness is the music. And as long as Brent Hinds keeps playing, that madness will never end.